The Grandmaster takes place in the world of martial arts. And I assume that you've seen a few of these movies in your life. Obviously, your films have touched on action many times, but they're not as clearly defined in terms of genre.
I was grew up on the streets full of like a martial arts school. And in those days, martial arts school is not like the school today. There's no high window, clean uniform. Most of them are very dark and mysterious. And back then, parents normally would not encourage kids to practice Kung Fu because some of the school is associated with triads. But I was always fascinated about like martial art because we heard so many stories about it. And in this film, later on, you're going to see there's a scene almost at the end of the film. There's a young man, a boy actually. He's standing outside of the place where Yip Man taught Wing Chun. And the camera will see his face. He looked inside, full of curiosities. That kid in the film could be Bruce Lee, or it could be me, because I was very curious. I want to know what's behind that door. And I'm very lucky because with the Grandmaster, I actually have the chance to walk through this door and find out what actually martial art is. The reason I want to make this film, to make the film about Yip Man, because he actually was very highly respected in his time. And because of Bruce Lee, he became a legend. And in a way, it's like today, a lot of people, or maybe audience, the followings about Chinese martial art films, it's because of Bruce Lee. And I think it would be interesting to tell the story of the man who trained him. And with this man, we're not talking only about the skill. It's really about the wisdom and the philosophy of Chinese martial art.
Just imagining you as a little boy standing outside the window, all of us who didn't have the guts to go inside and do martial arts.
I want to, but my parents say no.
My parents wouldn't let me either, yeah. Your films are very specific and obviously related to real life. You know, I imagine that you must have fallen in love with someone who lived across the hall at some point in your life. How does the process of creating a film happen for you? Do you keep notebooks? Do you collect observations? Is this about exercising an obsession?
There's so many reasons to make a film. Sometimes it's because of a line, sometimes it's because of an image. And for instance, for the Grandmaster, I started to have the idea to make this film when I have the chance to look at one video of the Grandmaster Yip Man. It was shot 3 days before he passed away. In the film, it is actually a Super 8 at that point. They shot it in his living room. He was very, very sick and very skinny, weak. And he's doing a demonstration. He's 70-something. And the demonstration actually is the legendary like Wing Chun combination. His practice with the dummy. And this combination was so legendary because it basically is the core spirit of this Wing Chun combat technique. And a lot of people offer him monies to do demonstration for them, including Bruce Lee. But he always refused. And because he said, I'm not going to do it for money. If I'm going to do it, I have to do it for all my students. Most of the Kung Fu film we saw before is about like who's going to be the best fighter, about revenge. And here, at the time when I see Yip Man doing this demonstration, he stopped. It's only like 1 second. He stopped. We don't know if it's too tired or he simply forgot it. But that moment, it's the most emotional part. Because we know why he wanted to do it 3 days before he died. Because he wanted to keep his promise. and he wanted to keep the torch, carrying on the torch and keep the light burning. So I find an angle. It's about legacy. I don't think there's any film have addressed this about legacy of the Chinese martial art, because in a way it is a very important part of this culture. There's so many great fighters, but only few can be called the Grandmaster.
In reading, I don't know exactly about this film, but I've noticed about your other films that you work in a unique way and that there's a lot of improvisation, particularly in dialogue in your work.
In a way, it's because I wrote most of my script. I think so. In a way, the writing process, I already have the pictures in my mind. And also, I'm very lucky. I work with very great actor and actress, and so I know how high they can fly. I'm going to fit the characters according to their performance.
So obviously, let's take Tony Leung. At this point, you've made numerous films with him.
He's a very, very good actor, but he never practiced martial art. But you have to know, like, when you look at the story of Yip Man, he's not actually a typical fighter. So people said he looks more like a teacher. So I cannot just find an action star to play that role. So I need a very good actor. But the problem is, I have one, but he don't know nothing about martial art. So I have to I don't want him, and also it's like Tony, he don't want to do something like just do some close-up in front of the camera and let the stuntman finish the rest. So, and he has to went through like 3 years of training. And he has to do all this action mainly by himself. He broke his arm twice. And besides of Tony, we also have Zhang Ziyi, right? She has to spend like 3 years to practice the martial art, and she has to do everything by herself. And I remember there's one scene later on you're going to see. It's a duel at the train station. We shot it like in a very faraway town in the north. It's more like -20 every night. And so we shot there for 2 months.
Did they end up being good enough at martial arts for the camera, or do you think they're really good at this point? For the rest of the time, people are going to think they're amazing at it.
But actually, when they can do some action, it's quite good, you know. Don't try them.
But I've also heard that you've edited your films sometimes for as much as 5 years. And I assume that involves removing and replacing the pieces many times over. How do you know when the film is finished?
If you want to do something original, you have to spend time. And in fact, in Chinese, literally, the word kung fu means the time that you have to spend. When you said, well, it takes some kung fu to finish this job, that means this job is going to take time.
You have incredible visual moments in your films, and you also they're punctuated by these pieces of dialogue, often very poetic.
I'm very precise with words. And in this film, I've been very lucky. I work with 2 great writers. And because I don't speak very good Mandarin, but in the film, the characters of one of the family, they are the major family from the north. So they have to speak in Beijing accent. And so I have to find a great writers who is very good with Mandarin dialogues to help me on this. Dialogue is important, but visually is also very important because it's a combination. Otherwise, we can create a book or radio program or just a photograph. But what makes cinema so attractive, so fascinating, is because it's not a 1+1 process. It's a chemistry between sound, words, ideas, and image.
And I notice that's beautiful, and that you go back to the images and you play with time a lot. Is that the process is that done on, I'm sorry to ask it this way as a writer, is that done on paper, or is this something that you discover in the editing room?
I spent a lot of time because everybody said, "Well, this guy make films with no script."
No, no,
And
that's
and in
that's
a way, in a way, it's true. But I make films with a lot of writing because I don't have like first draft, second draft, because the draft I only finish the script when the film is done.
That is very smart. Well, this has been a pleasure, and we're all very excited about seeing the movie. Before we present the movie, you have introduction you'd like to make?
We have an extraordinary actress. She played a very, very difficult part in this film, and her performance is amazing. And she's been working with me. It's like spending all this freezing night on the train stations. And she's with us now, is Miss Zhang Ziyi.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I think you are a special audience, and I'm very glad to be able to spend this night, special night and time with you all to watch this movie. Thank you.